Hello and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Thank you very much for joining me in today's video, and this is part 1 of a multi-part review of the 146 Professional for Microsoft Flight Simulator by JustFlight, available currently on their website for £49.99. This key was kindly provided to me by JustFlight, but all my views are my own, and I will be reviewing this just as I would review absolutely anything else, whether I purchase it or not. If you have been around my channel for a while, you may remember that I took a look at this in X-Plane, so this is going to be quite interesting because I gave this a really good mark in X-Plane, saying that this was potentially one of the best aircraft I have flown in X-Plane. Let's see how good it is in Microsoft's Flight Simulator. In this part, I'm going to be talking about the system specifications, what comes with the product, what kind of features are simulated to make this a study level product, and then we will go inside, or actually from the outside I'll also have a quick look at modelling, texturing, see what, if there are any errors obvious, what looks good, the detailing that's been put into it, or lack thereof, there might be, and then we will go inside and I will also take a look at a full cockpit tour, or flight deck tour in this case, refamiliarising myself with the aircraft so that I can fly it. In the second part, I will be starting up the aircraft, taxiing it out of here, this is Echo Golf Bravo Bravo, taxiing it out of here, we'll do a takeoff, we'll check out the autopilot, the thrust management system. We'll see what it's like to intercept a radial on this, fly following or fly up to a VOR, see if we can use the heading modes, the intercept for, as I said, the intercept for VORs, it'll probably be the Daventry VOR, climbing, cruise altitude, or a low cruise, and just see how the aircraft flies. And then in the final part, I will be bringing the aircraft in for a descent, approach and landing at London Heathrow. I would have brought it into London City Airport, but the steep descent is something I have not done in... no, ever. I've never done the steep descent into London City Airport, so that is something that I need to get some practice on, and that is where an aircraft like this would be flying into. So make sure you stay tuned for all 3 parts of the video, and of course at the end of it I will be giving you my final thoughts on whether or not this is worth the £50 that JustFlight are charging. I will say one thing already, the PMDG 737 has recently released, and this is coming out cheaper than that, so bear that in mind. And of course this is a different type of aircraft. 737 has a much larger range. This is, well, I would say between this, the 737 and a couple of other aircrafts, I would probably have, oh, and JustFlight's little Arrow and the Hawk, I think I have every aircraft I could need. But first off, this thing has to impress me. So I thought I'd change angles of the camera whilst I talk about the system specifications before we start looking at the exterior in depth. I think that's probably a good idea to do whilst we're still outside the aircraft. This is available only on PC, so you need Windows 10 or Windows 11 as your operating system. Of course, you need a valid copy of Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is 2020. Standard Deluxe, Premium Deluxe, doesn't matter as long as it's 2020. Please do not try to buy this aircraft and put it on Flight Simulator 10. I know it was a good simulator, but this is not designed for that. The minimum processor for this aircraft itself, bear in mind this is not for Flight Simulator itself, just for this aircraft, is an Intel i5-4460 or Ryzen 3 1200, which is something that I think everybody would have. The recommended ones are the i5-8400 or the Ryzen 5 1500X. Again, those are now 2 or 3 generations, in the case of the Intel 4 generations out of spec. So you should be okay running this on most modern machinery, and indeed machinery that dates back to before Microsoft Flight Simulator came out. 8GB of RAM, again I always say always have the extra RAM, so 16GB is recommended, and an Nvidia GTX 770 or an AMD Radeon RX 570 graphics card for a minimum. Recommended is the GTX 970 and the Radeon RX 590. if you have a graphics card better than those. One, I think you'll be able to run this okay, and two, you probably managed to get one, or you've had one for a while, and you are not going to be in trouble with all the high prices of graphics cards, though they are coming down now. So have a look. If you do want to upgrade graphics cards, do check out some graphics card suppliers and see what you can find. Perhaps something like a 3050 you might get for a really decent price now. And of course, in terms of peripherals, you are going to need a joystick or a game controller, keyboard, mouse, definitely required, because, well, why not? And it is a 2.8 gigabyte download, so you will need a little bit of hard drive space or hard disk space, SSD, solid state drive, if I guess most people are running on solid state drives now. I'm still rocking the old hard drives. No floppy disks though. So that is the system specifications. Now, what do you get with this? So let's move around to perhaps another camera angle, just so that perhaps let's look down from the top of this aircraft, like so, over the front, so we can have a nice look over the top. There we go, that is not looking too shabby. So what do you get with this aircraft? Well, you get 8 variants of the 146. You'll get the 146-100, 200, 300, 200 QC, 200 QT, which are both cargo variants, the 300 QT, and 2 RAF models. So you'll have the CC Mark II and the C Mark III. C Mark III is cargo, CC Mark II is the RAF VIP one. I believe it was the Queen's Flight, I believe is what it was called. Royal family members, or I think perhaps high government officials used to use this aircraft. So very fancy inside, and of course it comes with the interiors. I will be showing you the interior of this aircraft a little later on, not just the flight deck. On top of that, you get various different liveries. So for the 100, I'm just going to rattle these off. You will have Air France Express, Air UK, British Aerospace Demonstrator, Dan Air London, 2 Formula 1 flight operations, Jersey European, Pacific Southwest Airlines, United Express. For the 200, Air Cal, Air Canada Jazz, American Airlines, Cello Aviation, Cobham Aviation, Continental Express, Jota Aviation, Qantas Link, SN Brussels Airlines, and US Air. For the 200 QC, that's a cargo one, TNT Airways and Titan Airways. For the QT, another cargo one, TNT Airways, circa 1990s, Ansett Australia Airlines Cargo and Titan Airways. For the 300, Aer Lingus, Air New Zealand, Ansett Australia, Astra Airlines, British Airways, which is what I've got here, Cobham Aviation Services, Flybe and KLM UK. Now out of those, I have seen Flybe, KLM UK and British Airways flying around over the years. And then the 300 QT comes with ASL Airlines, Australia Air Express, Jota Aviation and TNT Airways. You've then got the CC Mark II and the C Mark III, which are 3 RAF liveries. For those, you also get a paint kit should you wish to create your own liveries. So there we go. Now before I go through an overview of the systems, let's have a quick look outside, just a quick 2-minute look or 3-minute look at the modelling and texturing, and just see what they've done and what sort of detail they have put into the exterior of the aircraft, which, remember, when you're flying it, you are not going to really be seeing much of the exterior. So I thought I would start from the front of the aircraft. Now at the moment it's very quiet because I've actually put this into a cold and dark mode, and the reason I've done that is I actually want to show you the doors opening from the exterior, because I think it's pretty neat. So if I just go ahead and just click that, you can just see that they've got the animations for the handles, which is really cool. And then if I just go and try and bring the stairs down, you should see the stairs coming out. There they come. And I think that's pretty nicely done. A little bit of a clunk. I will just attach ground power and open up some of these so that you can see all the doors open and everything running. So there you go. That's everything opened, and now we can have a nice look. So they have put in quite a bit of detail, it looks like. I mean, the stairs are really nicely detailed. As usual, texture mapping on this is high quality, as JustFlight always do. It does look like that is slightly off the texture. That should be, I believe, in the middle where it says keep off. So maybe just slight things that need to be changed. If we have a look around, they've even gone to the effort of doing the tyres. Engine cowlings, engine pylons look nice. Fairings look really nicely done. Some writing under here. Can we read it? We can. We can read the writing, which is really, really well done. That means that high quality. Okay, there's a little glitch here with the extinguisher. Looks like there was a low quality texture and then they've put a high quality one, but forgot to get rid of the writing on that. So perhaps that just needs to be looked at. But overall, I mean, if we're, how close are we? We're on the outboard engine. We're literally on the outboard engine and we're looking at the British Airways writing, and that's still, I would say, almost perfectly sharp. In fact, if we go about there, that would be classed as, I think, for a flight simulator, that's classed as sharp. And we are really, really close to the aircraft. You can clearly see we are well inboard of the wing. So very, very high quality here. Definitely very high quality. In fact, there's even writing on the door, although we cannot read all the signage on the door, just some of it. So of course you have to sort of compensate somewhere for all of this, and I suppose that is where they've done that. Looking around the aircraft, the underside looks a little dirty, so it does look like the aircraft has been used, which is great. They've gone to the effort of ensuring that bare metal panels, thank you, whatever got in front of me, bare metal panels have a little bit more shine, and then you've got the exhaust blowback right there, which is nice. Everything's labelled, registration looks right. A little bit of Z-axis fighting there on the strobe light for the rear, so there is that. Tail is really well done. Materials textures look great. Cannot see any obvious errors with the modelling. That panel there, that section there, looks like the colour slightly off compared to everything else. Again, perhaps there's something to be changed, or maybe they repainted that section. Maybe that is what that is. And it looks like there are, I can even read that, I think that says Bridgestone. So I think we've got Bridgestone tyres. So there you go. Very, very nicely done, I would say. I think this is high quality in and out. The modelling is really nice. That looks like 3D lighting as well. Yes, they're not just textures. So we could go into the glass. I'm going to attempt this. It's going to be a little bit difficult, but nope, cannot do that. There we go. Perhaps I can do it now. Yes, you can just see, there you go. We're inside the glass, and so they've modelled that as well. And we even have, they've even gone to the effort of modelling the, what do you call these, the static wicks for electrical discharge. Very nice. Very, very nice all the way around. No real complaints. No real complaints about this. It looks great. Even the chocks look very, very realistic. Landing gear is highly detailed. Again, if I were to fault things, the paint at the back and that sign there, and that's it. That really looks like it. I cannot see anything else that is really out of place. So there you go. That is the exterior, I suppose, taken care of. So I just want to try and get a thumbnail for this. So I'm just going to get a thumbnail before we go inside, and then I'll show you the interior, and we will, let's do that. Oh, that's a good focus. Well done. So I'll show you the interior, and then I will actually go through the systems before I show you the interior. So, or before I go through the cockpit flight deck tour. Okay, a quick overview of the systems. Now, I'm reading from the detailed description. This may not be an exhaustive list, but I am going to read from that description, and I'm not going to go through too much detail yet. Once I start the aircraft up and we're flying, I'll be able to show you a little bit more of this in action, and certainly when I'm doing the flight deck tour I will also be able to show you a little bit more. So it says the 146 Professional features custom coded aircraft systems with a high degree of complexity and depth, including air conditioning and pressurization system, auto flight system, electronic flight bag, flight management system, communication system, electrical system, fire protection system, flight controls, fuel system, hydraulic system, ice and rain protection system. That's important because obviously Microsoft Flight Simulator does do ice now. Indicating and recording systems, landing gear, navigation systems, oxygen system, pneumatic system, APU, doors and stairs, which we have already seen, power plant, lighting, sounds, well, sounds obviously you have the sounds, FDE and effects, I think that's flight dynamics, and a massive manual, full support for the checklist, etc. Right, so those are the systems. Now that may not seem like a lot, but if I just, for example, let's just pick one of the systems. Let's pick the power plant system. So that's the power plant with the APU, and I'm just going to read the detailing that's noted on the website. This is not even in the manual. Just going to read the detailing from the website. In fact, no, I tell you what, I will read the detailing from the manual. Let me pull up the manual, and let me just pull up just go just for the APU and the, let's just go just for the APU. So here we go. Right, I'm just going to read perhaps the first couple of paragraphs of the APU, just to give you an idea of the depth of this. The auxiliary power unit is a gas turbine engine driving a generator installed in a fireproof bay in the aircraft tail cone. The APU may be used on the ground and in the air to provide electrical power or bleed air. The generator supplies 115 to 200 volts to the main AC bus bars, which can be used as a power source to start the main engines on the ground. See the electrical system section. Air can be bled from the APU compressor for air conditioning. See the air conditioning system. Both electrical and air supplies may be used independently or simultaneously within certain limitations. See limits for the APU. Automatic shutdown protects the system against failures, including fire on the ground. Fire detection and protection is available. See fire protection system APU section. Controls and indicators are located on the flight deck overhead panel. Bleed air and or electrical power from the APU is available only when the APU is operating at speeds above 95% RPM. And then it's got some pictures which gives me the demonstration of what is where. And then it's got another page just for operating this. Then it's got a paragraph just for starting it. It's got a chart for fuel consumption on it. And then it moves on to doors and stairs. So that is just the APU, just the auxiliary power unit has all of that. So that's what, 4 pages? 1, 2, 3, 4 pages just for the auxiliary power unit. Similarly, I could go to the power plant, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 pages of information just for the power plant. So that should give you an idea as to how in depth this particular aircraft is. Now that we've talked about that, instead of me boring you with just loads and loads and loads and loads of information, let's have a look at some of it with the flight deck tour. And of course, as I said, I'm not going to be able to show you all of it till the aircraft is switched on and we're flying, and certainly certain things will not be shown. For example, I'm really hoping the aircraft doesn't catch fire, because that would be a problem, and then I'd have to try and use emergency procedures, and then I can't really review the aircraft because I'm too busy trying to stop the aircraft from crashing. So there we go. Let's start with the very common thing in JustFlight aircraft and a lot of aircraft, and that is kind of want to get rid of the yoke. Now you cannot do it by clicking, as you can see down here. What you have to do is use the pedal adjust, which I think is a really clever use of the pedal adjust. And then over here, that shows and hides your EFB. For some reason my EFB is switched off, so I'm going to go ahead and press the button to switch it on. Ooh, something's happened to my EFB. Hello? Oh dear. I feel like... Oh, actually, I suppose we're off. Maybe I need to switch the batteries on. Yep, that's it. I just need to switch the batteries on. So I'll switch the batteries on. I've got ground power. Essentially, it ran out of power. That's all it was. So if I just hit external power here. So external power on. I'll leave the batteries on because they should be charging. With external power available, batteries should be charging. There we go. Okay, we are now good to go with the EFB. Let's go home. So this is where you would start. Once the aircraft starts and you're using it, this is where you would start. First one is OFP. Now, I cannot use the OFP because I do not have a flight plan on SimBrief at this point in time. But you will be able to get your summary and output from there, which I think is really clever. So you set up your flight plan in SimBrief and pull it straight into this. The map is just a map. You can zoom in a fair amount, not a massive amount unfortunately. I think that's it, that's the maximum zoom. I wish there was one more level of zoom, but that's okay. That is not too bad at all. Charts. Once you connect up to Navigraph, you can use this to pull up charts. So there you go. I'm pulling up Birmingham Airport and I've got all the charts. So if I just go, there you go, there's my airport briefing. And there you have it. There's all my information. Easy to use, and then I can even turn it into, if we're doing it at night, put it into night mode, which is really nice. I think that's very helpful to have the charts available here. You can of course log out if you want to do so. We will be using, for example, a probably, I'm not going to be doing an RNAV departure. Most likely will not be an RNAV departure. It will probably end up being the 4 Foxtrot departure, which is this one here, and I'll probably be flying that out. So I can pull it up on here, nice and easy, gives me all the information at a glance. Though that being said, you can do that on your tablet outside as well, or your phone, which is something that I tend to do. Nevertheless, it's nice to have that in the aircraft. Clicking aircraft brings up that screen that you saw earlier. This allows you to control a number of things, including the aircraft state, any announcements. You can adjust the amount of cargo, the amount of fuel, and the number of passengers, as well as connect or disconnect ground power and chocks, and get the doors open and close and the stairs. You can also switch between kilograms and pounds, which is useful because obviously different people in the world will use different units. Clicking the settings cog will allow you to adjust the configuration. So I quite like having the altimeter synced instead of me changing it on both sides. Tcas Vsi is right. So to show you that, if I just click that, there's your vertical speed indicator. If you do that, it becomes a Tcas Vsi, which will have your traffic collision avoidance system in there as well. State saving means how you leave the aircraft is how it will load up the next time around. Pilot call outs, naturally 80 knots, V1 rotate, things like that. Cabin announcements is not much to say about that. Fms Navigation, so that we can do it through the flight management system using the keyboard cursor control unit. Cockpit pilots gives us a pilot. Interior cabin gives us the cabin. Auxiliary fuel tanks gives us 2 extra fuel tanks. Auto ground idle, not sure. I guess it just puts your aircraft in idle. Cabin ambient sounds and auto cabin lights is self-explanatory. So there you go. That is that. And then if we go back to home, I do like this. You can put little notes in, which is quite helpful. I'm at a very bad angle, but you can put little notes in which does come in handy because, for example, if you wanted to know which one, so if I just wanted to make a reminder that I'm going to do that to Daventry, to Westcote, to Bovingdon, and then probably use the and then vectors to that. There you go. And we're going to be landing, let's say 27 left, and then on this side I could say we're going to be taking off 33. There you go. So now I've got my entire flight plan just noted for me so that I will not forget. Right, once I'm at Daventry, what's my next thing? Flying towards Westcote, so I need an ADF, then towards Bovingdon, and I could even put the radials in if I really wanted to, and say, okay, I want to fly from Daventry to, I want to fly direct Westcote, I want to fly Bovingdon, this radial, and then vectors into London. Nice and simple. Very, very helpful. And then settings is just your basic settings, which does allow a change of theme, so you do have various themes. I would like this one for night use, and I think this one for day use is really cool. There you go. That is your electronic flight bag. Very, very useful feature, and if you want to get rid of it, just press the compass card there and it's gone, and then you can click that and that's gone too, so that you have access to your lighting controls down here and it's not blocked in. In fact, if I just do that, just to test this, if I do that, lighting controls are still visible, but there are some radio controls on this side that will be missing. So there you go. On top of that, you also have some additional information here about takeoff and your start gas temperatures, turbine gas temperatures, etc. Gear up, rough air, flaps, limits, all of that. Very useful on this side. Fortunately, no flight manuals there. It would have been nice to have a flight manual that you could just flick through. I'm pretty sure these do something, the air conditioning systems down there, but I'm not going to do anything with it. If you want a sun visor, if it gets a little bit too sunny, they've even thought of that. Click that, brings it up there, you can just drag it around. That's a really cool little feature, I think. There you go. Now you can land with the sun visor. Then if you click it again, puts it back down in the cubby hole and returns the visor holder position right to the back of the rail. I'm not sure if the window's open. I have not been able to get the window open. There is something here. I'm just not sure how to get it open. So I've tried a few different things and it hasn't worked. So I'm just going to leave it, and if somebody does have a look, and if somebody does know, please do tell me and say yes, you can open the window. It's just you've got to click it in a specific direction. I'm not entirely sure. So I'm trying something, anything. Anyway, I'm going to move on from that. Right, let's have a look at what is available to us in this. So I'm just going to use some of the quick views. So we'll start with control 1, and this is the quick view. So we've got the captain side main panel. What do we have? So we've got a clock with a stopwatch right there, aircraft registration right there, some compass controls right there for compass slave. We've got our ADF indicator with some DME information right there. Our speed indicator is over here with some speed bugs. So you've got your, I believe that's your IAS hold bug, and then you've got this white one, which ideally I think should start up there so that you can see it better, and then you can bring these speeds around for your various different bugs. But if you put those speeds in a specific position, and I'll show you how to do that in a bit, you will or should get call outs at those speeds, which I think is really, really clever. We've got our attitude indicator right here, along with some of our flight director bars. We've got our glide slope and localizer there as well. Our altimeter is right here. Standby attitude indicators there. Our autopilot and auto thrust information is here. This is some air brake information, and again some autopilot information right there. So you can see we've got the heading, localizer for descent. We've got on this side, we've got glide slope activated, localizer, there. I think that's a back course on the localizer, engine sync, etc. all the way around. So we've got those. Down here we've got a radio altimeter, complete with the option for a decision height, which you can just tune in by doing that. So that will give you your call outs for your decision height when you're landing your aircraft. One of your horizontal situation indicators right here also has ground speed, and it also has your VOR track to run. So however many miles you are from your VOR or ILS as a DME track. So it's actually a DME along with, of course, DME 1 and 2 right there. So a lot of the VORs are obviously VOR DMEs, so you'll get that information right there. Down here we've got the two braking systems, or brake hydraulic systems, the green and the yellow system. So for example, the yellow hydraulics are actually used for the stairs as well and for the parking brake, and the greens are used, I believe, for the normal braking system. But again, all of that is in depth in the manual. This, as I noted earlier, is the Tcas Vsi. If you switch that off, you'll just get your vertical speed indicator, no Tcas information whatsoever. And then you've got a standby altimeter right here. So that is everything on this side. Again, you can just do a test for your alerts. There you go, so that you can see all of them switched on, and of course you have a dimmer for them, so it does actually dim them. There's a dim, and then brighter. It does look like it is doing something, so there you go. And then you've got your selection between nav and RNAV, depending on what you need. So that is that side done. Let's press Control and 2. And Control and 3 is pretty much the same. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go here for a moment, because you've got some of the thrust management system options right here, and you've also got your landing gear there. So just bear that in mind. Slight differences, as well as outside air temperature and cabin pressure over there, and your thrust management system right there. But if I just go to Control 2, we should be able to see pretty much all of that on this side, and we will just go through what this is. So most of this is engine. So this is engines 1, 2, 3 and 4. You will have your oil quantity in each engine. You will have your oil temperature in each engine, and you will have your oil pressure in each engine. I'm just looking at which one is temperature and which one's pressure. That's temperature, that's pressure. So you'll have your temperature and pressure in each engine, multiplied by 10, of course, so that's 200 degrees right there, not 20 degrees on oil, it seems. So you do not want really hot oil, but you need it in the right range. And similarly with pressure, you do not want extremely high pressure, but similarly low pressure is going to be a really bad thing, which is what we've got right now. Below that, this is our N1 RPM. Again, you can set these settings here is again used for the thrust management system. Once we're flying, I'll be able to show you how that works. Similarly for the tail gas temperature, that's the same thing right there. So exhaust gases, you can flick this around all the way to whatever you need to. I'll leave that on 0 for now. And then you've got your N2 right there. Then you've got your fuel flow for each one and how much fuel is used. And then below that you have your fuel tank. So you can see that my port and starboard tanks are sort of 80% full, but my center tank is empty. Also tells me that there is a door that is open there, but I'll have a look at that in a moment. Over here we have your engine vibration. So if I do a vibration test, as you can see, comes up with a warning on the master warning panel, and it will bring up the engine vibrations. That is something that is important to look at. Obviously that may tell you whether or not you have a problem with your engine. This is your tabs for your roll spoilers, so it tells you what the positions are on them. I don't think that, yeah, that is roll spoiler. I was going to say that for some reason. Why is that reading ROI spoiler? Flap indicators right there. landing indicators right there, or landing gear indicators right there, to make sure you do have a positive lock on your landing gear or positive retraction. This here, as I mentioned a moment ago, is the warning panel for your master warning display. So this is all for your master warning system. You can see there are all sorts of things there. I'm going to look for a test button. There should be a test button somewhere. I'm looking for a test button. Push to test. There it is, MWS. Push to test. No, I don't want it. There you go. That gives you everything. So you heard the audible warning, you get the audible warning, and in addition to that, you will get whatever this is that you're having problems with. So of course green is okay, that's just a notification. White is also a notification, no serious problems, but there is something that you need to be aware of. This isn't going to be critical to your aircraft at this point in time, but as you can see, for example, that one is just telling you that you've pulled a fire handle, you've done an action there, these filters are clogged, that could later cause a problem. Emergency lights are on, doesn't stop your aircraft from flying. Fuel feed open just means that you've got fuel transfer, stall fault, etc. So there you go, there's your fuel transfer there, so it's just telling you about that, or external power not shut, just some information. The amber ones are obviously some sort of warnings, so parking brake on, yeah, that could be a problem, your aircraft's not going to move, so you need to do that. Flap faults, rudder valves, hydraulic problems, or hydraulics up, spoilers up, fuel, ice protection, electrical, etc. And then red is your critical warnings. So you've got a problem. Mostly those will be fire or oil pressure. So for example, you can see there for smoke warnings there. Configuration warning, something's wrong with how you've set the aircraft up. High altitude, you've got a chance of people in the cabin asphyxiating. Low oil pressure could be a sign of your aircraft about to shut, or your engine about to shut down. Overheats, again, could be a sign of fire. APU fire is fire, and then engine fire is fire. So there you go. I will now switch off the test, and as you can see right now, we still have the low oil pressure because, well, we have low oil pressure because no engine is on. So that is that. And then lastly, let's just have a quick look at, oh yeah, let me shut that up. Here you go, done. Just run a recall on those buttons. And then this here is our thrust management system. I'm not going to go into this in too much detail until we are actually flying the aircraft, because I need to be flying the aircraft to really show you this in detail. But just as a brief, those four are the four engines. You can synchronize to an engine, power it up, set it to which mode it wants to look at, so whether it's looking at TGT, whether it's looking at N1, etc. Whatever it's doing, whether it's in takeoff mode, and whether it's in descent mode. So that is your auto throttle essentially. It's a very old school, interesting auto throttle. I do particularly like it. Now, before I show you the rest of the flight deck, I was going to say that there is a little trick here to get your bugs all working. Let's say we wanted to do a flaps 18 takeoff. If I just click flaps 18, there you go, it's moved the bugs to where they need to be. All the bugs have now moved to exactly where you want those bugs to be. So that is how you do that, which is pretty simple. So that bug's moved to rotate, then that bug, those two bugs look like they have moved to flaps up. That looks like flaps up speeds at the moment, so that looks about 195 right there, 196. So there we go. Okay, let's move to, where were we looking? Okay, well let's go to 4. So this is control 4. So over here we've got our autopilot buttons. So this is to get you your damper and autopilot up. Your trim tab right here for autopilot, and your roll, aileron roll trim right there. Your parking brake is there. Your elevator trim is there. Sorry, aileron trim's there. That's rudder trim. Aileron trim's there. Rudder trim's there. That shows your elevator trim position. That's your parking brake. That's some more rudder trim. I just realised that I've just done that wrong. That's your aircraft roll mode, so you can put in an actual roll whilst the autopilot's on. I remember somebody using this to try and get the aircraft to turn when the yokes wouldn't use it. That's your rudder trim. That's your aileron trim. That's your pitch trim. Right there. Anything else I need to show you here? Yeah, you can do a config check by doing that. So obviously we do have a problem because, well, the aircraft is not configured for any takeoff. You can push that on, so you've got panel lighting on and dim. Got some lighting down here, which is, well, you can just about see it. In fact, you see the flood lighting it up nicely, but the forward and aft console can then be lit up. You've got your transponder here. You've got your brake temperatures here. Yes, brake temperatures are simulated. There are brake fans as well to ensure that your brakes stay nice and cool. So you've got some information there, and there's some overheat warnings for that. So if I just put that into, well, that brake temperatures are nice and cool. There you go. There's some overheat warnings for the various different wheels or brakes. So let's get that out of that mode, and we're not going to switch it on just yet. And then your ADF tuning is right there, and then you've got your, to be honest, I'm not sure what that does. I guess it's just a note for people. Emergency landing gear is also down here. That's a cup holder, that's not what I want. I want to be able to get to the emergency landing gear. Right, if I just move myself backwards a little, there we go. I should be able to open this up. I'm not exactly sure how to open it, but there is a way to open up the emergency landing gear lever, and then you can drop the landing gear from there. Actually, another small thing that I will show you is that you can actually move these seats and even lift these up, which I think is just a little things that are really, really neat. There you go. Got another person now. Let's go in the way. I'm going to move back to there. So that's the jump seat. Yeah, that's a jump seat right there. So it's a little bit awkward. There we go. Right, I want to put that jump seat back, please. And I put the jump seat back. I want the jump seat to go back. Okay, I guess the jump seat's not going. Okay, apparently there's somebody joining us on our flight. Okay, let's have a look at the front. So over here we've got weather radar, which does not unfortunately work. We have our two FMC, or we've got the two control units for the flight management system, and then we've got our VHF comms radios down here. Nice and simple. 6 is control, and 6 gives us our air brakes, our flaps, our 4 thrust levers, our fuel cutoffs, and then of course we've already been through that, and that's our trim tab. 7 brings us up to the overhead panel, or one of the overhead panels. I'll go through these nice and quickly. This one is all fuel, so we've got our feed tanks, we've got our cross feed, we've got our standby pumps, we've got our inner and outer pumps right there. Just some more lighting. Again, you can call the cabin like that. You can call the ground like that. I like the fact that they light up, and then of course you've got emergency call like that, and then you can push to cancel the call. So you do that, call the cabin, or do that. There you go. Standby compass and eye locator I will have a look at. I believe that comes up near the windscreen. So that is that. Electric panel is this one here. So we have already used a little bit of it. So we've got our voltmeters right here, and I suppose this works as an ammeter as well, does it? No, it's just telling me voltmeters. It's not really telling me the amps of anything. And then we've got we've got another voltmeter right here. So for example, I can put that on external, and you can see we've got 400 hertz, and we've got 115 volts at 400 hertz. So there you go for the AC power, which is the external AC power, and then you've got external DC is supplying us apparently 32 volts, like that, and then you've got your battery, etc., all the way down. Generators here for engine generators, APU, so you've got 2 engine generators to be pushed there. You've got your APU generator there, and then you've got, I have no idea what this one does, I'll be honest. I didn't even know what it did in X-Plane, but there you go. And then you've got your standby generators and inverters right there. APU controls at the top right here, just very simple. We've got start and we've got the fire discharge, so you can open that and press the button and that will put a fire out in the APU. With your RPM here where it said, you know, APU power is not available unless it's 95% or above, so that is that there. And then you've got your TGT there, which of course the gas temperature will go up massively when the APU first starts and then settle down, I think around probably 350 to 400 in this aircraft. Underneath that we have engines. So this is quite simple. You select the engine you want, you switch your starter on into normal mode, make sure your master's on for that. I believe you put continuous ignition on, it's not FLT start, and then you start your engine. And then it will go through the stop procedure, and then you just go ahead and do the same for all of them. Engines 2, 3 and 4. I think I will start at my engines in the order 1, 4, 2, 3. I think that will be the order I do it in. Then you've got, underneath that, you've got ice protection. Now, ice protection is in 2 places, but it does make sense when you have a look at it, because this ice protection is specifically for the engines. So that is why that ice protection is there. This ice protection on this side is for the wings, it's for screen demisting, so you can see there's screen heat, the pitot tubes and the left and right vane. So that is what those are for. So just, for example, switch all of that on and you would be okay on that. But that is why the ice protection is 2 different places. Pressurization is here. Now you've got ditch, which is for water landings, and then you've got the discharge valves, normal, shut 1, shut 2. So as you can see, that's shutting the 2, and then in ditch you go in manual mode and just essentially shut them. So you do that, and there you go, they're both shutting like so. Let's just open them back up, put that into normal, put that back into automatic, and let them open up and repressurize. Now this is quite an interesting one. This is our cabin altitude as well as our flight altitude. So how do you read this? Inside is the flight altitude, outside is the cabin altitude. Set this to whatever your flight altitude is going to be. So let's say it's, for example, let's say we're doing flight level, let's say we're doing flight level 200, 20,000 feet at sea level. That will set your inside cabin altitude to 3,000 feet. That will give you a 6.3 psi difference, which is in line with the specifications for the aircraft. So that is how that works. Gone through the ice protection. Over here is the air conditioning panel. So you've got all part of the air conditioning. Recirculation fans, packs, air supply, where it comes from, whether it comes from the engines or whether it comes from the APU. And then you've got just some of the panels. So you can see that lit up that panel, and you can do a test for everything there, and yep, that's plenty tested. Let's go up to, no, that wasn't it, 8 is the last panel that we can use. So up here, unfortunately, none of these seem to be clickable. All of these circuit breakers are not clickable, which is a shame, which is certainly a shame. But this is the upper panel, and on here we've got miscellaneous. These are our yaw damper masters, autopilot's masters, avionics masters, so you need to switch those on, of course. Your lift spoilers, which hydraulic system are they using it from, yellow or green. Anti-skid brake fans, as I said, we do have brake fans required because we have brake temperature. We've got ground ignition. I'm not sure how that one works. This one here is our hydraulic system, so it'll give you your hydraulic quantities, your engine pumps, which obviously at the moment won't work. You put your DC pump on, put your PTU on, and once you've got the aircraft running, you'll be able to hear various noises with all of this. On this side we've got some ground tests for overspeed. So that's some overspeed testing. Engine fire. That shows, that lights up there. So I can do that. APU fire. It's another one. Once the engine fire goes out. There you go. And that will light up right there. So that's useful for us. Stall warnings. Yep, we have stall warnings. Some extra extinguisher marks, so that tells us that the extinguisher has been used. Smoke warnings, which should then come up down there. There you go, you've got some smoke warnings came up, so that is in use. And then all the other bits and bobs everywhere, so there's some speed warnings right there as well. And you can go around testing all of these. Then you've got your lights, and of course this is your beacon lights when your aircraft's about to switch on, your strobe lights when you're into the runway and when you're in flight, your nav lights, which are on as soon as you've got batteries connected. This will give you low intensity and high intensity, which is really cool. I like having the logo light on. Emergency lights can be armed, so I believe that's armed like that in the middle, and then you can switch on the no smoking signs and things like that. And then you've got air conditioning here, auto manual, temperatures, cabin temperatures, and you can just mess around with that. And I believe that is everything. That is, yeah, I think that's the lot. Let's go ahead and cancel that, and let's take a quick look. So if I just turn myself around, let's take a quick look down through the cabin. Can I open this door is the question. I can walk along here. Can I open the door? Seemingly not, but I can walk through here. So I'm just going to walk through, and as you can see, this is a British Airways. It's certainly British Airways because they have the British Airways colours, and they have the British Airways sign. So depending on whichever aircraft you're flying, this cabin will look different. Of course, if you wanted to set up a custom view, you could probably find yourself at a wing, something there. I don't know. That's probably a bad one to be at. Find a decent spots for this. There we go. Somewhere like probably somewhere here, and you could get yourself up on the wing and get yourself that's probably a better one, and get yourself a nice wing view, which I think is pretty cool. So you could do that if you so wish and set up a custom view. And then of course if you want to go back to the front, control in space takes you right the way back, as it does in everything in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So that is the overview of what is available in this aircraft. As you can see, it is highly detailed. My one disappointment on this aircraft so far is those circuit breakers. I wanted to be able to use the circuit breakers. I want the circuit breakers to be able to pop out and you can push them back in. I think that would be awesome. That's the one disappointment that I have on everything that I've seen so far. I do not mind the texture being slightly outside. I'm sure they will fix that, but the circuit breakers, I really want that to be working. In fact, the other thing I probably want working is the windscreen washer, but I don't think that's going to happen. There you go. That's what that is. The standby compass eye locator, push on and off. It's a light for the standby compass. There you go. I knew it'd be something nice and simple. So there we go. That is it for part 1. I am going to now get this aircraft started up. So I'll probably set this up a little bit better because we've been running ground power. Well, as you can see, we've got the avionics have all started coming alive. Everything's started coming up and online. We've got the flight plans. We've got all of this working and up and running. So I need to ensure that I have everything up to date, and I will then do the flight. So in the next part, as I said, I'll start up the aircraft. I'm going to be taxiing, taking off, flying a standard instrument departure, checking out the auto throttle system, the TMS, thrust management system, the autopilot system. I didn't actually show you the autopilot system, which is up here. So you've got flight director bars there, all your various options here, and you've got your course select here, altitude select there. Interestingly enough, the only thing that I find strange is that you cannot press that button. You have to press the autopilot button down there, which is just weird. I just think that's really, really strange. So having that in there, as you can see, will bring the autopilot on, but then I can just disconnect that autopilot like so. So that is that. I will be testing that in the next video, and then of course the third video I'll be bringing it in for an approach, descent and landing. So make sure you stay tuned for all of that. Hopefully this has given you an idea as to how detailed this aircraft is and why it is worth, or why it costs £50 at this point in time. I will not say whether or not it is worth it until I've done my entire flight. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more videos on Microsoft Flight Simulator, and indeed parts 2 and 3 for this review. Leave a comment in the comments box below letting me know what you think. Don't forget to support me on Patreon if you can do so, link in the description box below, and also you can find me on social media at ECGadgetLP for both Twitter and Instagram. That is all from me, and I'll see you next time in Microsoft Flight Simulator, where I will continue the review for the JustFlight 146 Professional.